All right, it's been a while since I've made one of these videos, and this actually may be my first theory video that I've ever made on this channel. So let's just get straight into it. I'm getting ready because I have not seen Fantastic Four yet, so I know I'm behind. Don't kill me. We're figuring this all out. But it got me thinking about the reveal they made about Robert Downey Jr. now playing Victor Von Doom. Or at least Dr. Doom, which could be all up in the air of who is he actually. Which makes me think, how are they going to make sense of this? How does Dr. Doom, known as one of the biggest villains for the Fantastic Four, look just like Tony Stark? And I think we already have the answer to that in some of Marvel's recent projects, including some of the television shows that people didn't like so much. So let's dig deep into see what could possibly happen, because right now, I think the answer lies within Secret Invasion. But it all started back in the beginning with Iron Man 1. If you're putting these things together right now, I think Tony Stark was switched out as a Skrull. And I think it took place in Iron Man 1 before Tony Stark became Iron Man. The way this theory works in my mind as I was putting this together, and this really comes from watching Secret Invasion, when we find out that Rhodey has been a Skrull ever since the accident that he had in Captain America Civil War. When he came down, we find out that Rhodey was switched out and was supposed to go to the hospital for the surgery with the implant placed in, but it actually became a Skrull. There was actually a Skrull living in his place this whole time. But we also know Skrulls have been living on Earth way back in the time of Captain Marvel. So what if when Tony Stark was kidnapped by the terrorist group, that I think if we pay attention has some connections to the 10 Rings from Shang-Chi. So what if the person that was actually captured was Tony Stark, but the person we knew this entire Marvel universe was the Skrull? Right now, my thought is when Tony was captured, he was taken to a facility, but then switched out for one of the Skrulls. Tony was then sent away to some far off area. I think it is Tony Stark that we see when he is held hostage and you see the image of the 10 Rings behind him and the whole terrorist group is there. But I think when he is building the first Iron Man suit that Jebediah is so upset about and says Tony Stark can build a whole suit out of scraps he found in the cave, what if that was the Skrull? What if it was the Skrull that was injured and the whole time his heart that was messed up was actually a Skrull? And Tony this whole time has been hidden away, tucked away from some terrorist group or some other country or some other group of people have been holding him captive all this time. And what we're really seeing and who we really missed and who we saw make that snap was Tony. To me, it was always very interesting in Endgame that everyone thought it had to be the Hulk to make the snap because he's the only one whose body could take the snap. No one else could do it. They even said Thor, you couldn't handle it. But Tony, albeit with his suit, was able to take the snap, survive it, and talk a little while with everybody else. To me, that doesn't make sense. It never really made sense. We kind of just accepted it because it was such a great and touching moment. But what if it was only really truly possible because the person to make the snap was an actual Skrull? Tony was locked away far away. And one thing that's really cool about Victor Von Doom that makes sense to this, in my theory, is we know Dr. Doom as the man with the mask. And one of the stories we all know from all kinds of folklore back in the day is the man in the Iron Mask. There's a man that has a mask over his head that's locked away and no one truly knows his face. Now in the story, why would that work? Maybe because his true identity is too popular for the world? Anyone seeing his face would know exactly who he is? The richest playboy billionaire can't just go missing. And if he does and shows up again or his face is seen somewhere else, people would know something's up. So what do? You hide him away. You put a mask on his face so that not only does no one else see him, he never sees his own reflection. He doesn't remember who he is because he's been captured. But what he still has is his intellect, his knowledge, and his skill set. Although being a playboy billionaire, he's always been smart. He was already the MIT graduate. So over time, which I think is what we're going to find out, or in my theory is, we will see this man come to be Victor Von Doom with this agenda against the people. He finally breaks free, and Victor Von Doom is ready for revenge. And he takes off that mask, and we see what looks like Tony Stark, but it's a man who has lost his true identity as Tony Stark, and he has taken on a new mantle, a new name, a new identity, and a new cause to get revenge on Earth's mightiest heroes. And who do we know right now that is leading the charge? The Fantastic Four. But did they come save him? No. Now, I have not seen the Fantastic Four movie yet, but it's very interesting to me that this movie takes place in the 60s. I'm sure there's going to be some time of time jump that makes it make sense, but if this takes place in the 60s or back in the day, where have they been this whole time? These people would be 60 years later in time in the times of Endgame. They would be very, very old people in this time. So that means something has to happen with their storyline, because I know they're going to keep using them. But if you're going back to strike revenge on someone else, why weren't they there to save Tony when he was captured? How did they not figure it out that he was taken by the Skrulls during the secret invasion of Venus? And that will explain why Tony Stark, who saved the world as Iron Man for all these years and died in the snap, looks just like Von Doom. I don't know if it makes sense. I want you to help me find the plot holes. Where does this make sense? Maybe the Fantastic Four movie explains all of this and I just haven't seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure I would have heard those spoilers. But I'm curious, how do you think they're going to explain Tony Stark and Dr. Doom looking just alike? To me, this makes sense. To me, this ties in the whole Skrull agenda we've been talking about for so long. It also puts away some of these multiverse things that I think they're trying to move on from. But the Skrulls have been such a big part of some of these movies recently and the TV shows, and that makes more sense of why Tony is still around, but he's not Tony. I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me if you think this is totally wacky and totally crazy. Let me know what happens. And if you don't think that this theory is too outlandish, but you don't think it's Iron Man 1 when he switches bodies, let me know, when do you think a Skrull could have taken over for Tony when Tony disappeared? And if he did disappear, where is he? I'm ready to learn. I want to know what's going on. I can't wait to see the movie. I'm going to go see it this week. I know I'm behind, but it's going to be a fun time figuring all of this out. And you all join me and let me know what your thoughts are. See you later.